In this lesson, we're going to be discussing InDesign's workspace and how you can best customize it to meet your needs. If you're familiar with other applications in Creative Suite, such as Photoshop and Illustrator, InDesign's workspace is very similar. It has docked panels to the right-hand side of the document window. There's a control panel that goes across the entire top of the window. This is a contextual panel. That means that depending on what tool or kind of object you have selected, the options in the panel will be totally different. There's been a lot of changes in the workspace in InDesign CS6. In the Tools panel, there are actually some new tools that we'll be talking about. And if you take a look at the docked panels, you can see that the names are no longer in all caps. They're in title case. And also, they take up less room in the width. So, if the panels are taking up less room, I have more room to see my layout in a larger size. So that's a good thing. If you're new to InDesign, chances are you're using the Essentials workspace. There are not very many panels here, so there's not a lot you can do without having to open other panels under the window menu. Why don't we go to Typography? If you click down on Essentials and choose Typography, you'll see that a lot of your type formatting features are now available. And if I were working on a print document, chances are I would want to start with the typography preset workspace and customize it from there. Why don't we do that? If you go under your window menu, why don't you go to Object and Layout, Align. There's a good possibility that I'll have to align the objects in my layout, so I might need the Align panel. To add it to my workspace, I'm going to click at the top of the group panels and drag it to an insert point. It will be added to the docked panels wherever I see that insert line. I'm going to add it underneath my character and character styles group. And you can see it's been added to the bottom of the docked panels. Maybe I also want to add Mini Bridge. I'm going to go into my window menu to Mini Bridge and then drag from the tab of the panel underneath the group that contains Align and Pathfinder and let go. If I wanted to save this as my print workspace, my own custom print workspace, I could go under the workspace pop-up and go to New Workspace. And I could name my workspace. This would capture the panel locations and any menu customization. I'm going to hit cancel instead, but if I didn't, it would be added to the top of that pop-up. What if I wanted to get back to my original workspace? How would I do that? Well, if I click where it says Typography and just go to Reset Typography, it's going to get rid of those other panels that I added and go right back to that original workspace. If I'm working and I wanted to get all of my panels out of the way temporarily, because maybe they're covering part of my layout, or I wanted to look at my layout in a larger size, all I have to do is hit my Tab key, and my panels will go away temporarily. If I go to the right side of my document window, I can open a panel, and as soon as I'm done with that panel, and move away from that right side of the window, the panels will close. And I could also do that with the left side of my document window. My Tools panel will open so I could change tools. But let me reopen my panels. I'm going to hit my Tab key. Now, is there a way that I can look at my docked panels with just the icon? That would save even more room. Now, I don't suggest that you do this if you're not familiar with these icons. So you may want to use InDesign for a while before you do this. If I go over the left side of my docked panels, I get these double arrows. And if I click and drag, I can go all the way down to an icon view. Kind of cool. And if I wanted to open it back up, I could just click and drag outward. But what if I wanted to open all of my panels? One of the things that's quite common in InDesign and other Creative Suite applications is drag and drop. Maybe I need to drag from one panel to another panel. What I can do is on a Mac, hit Command Option tab, and on a PC, I would press Control Alt tab. Hitting that command will open or close all of the panels. Now, if you're working on a Mac, chances are, even though I'm on a Mac, my window looks different than yours. That's because I'm using something called Application Frame. Application Frame is always on a PC. I turned it on for a couple of reasons. One, I can't see my desktop. When working on a video, you're probably not going to want to see what's on my desktop. But there's another advantage. Let me click and drag from the right side of my document window, and you can see I can make the entire window smaller. I can also do this from the bottom. You can see I'm getting these double arrows, or I can do it from a corner. You can see I'm getting these diagonal arrows, and all I would need to do is click and drag inward to change the size of the document window. Another advantage is this gray area that's covering my desktop. If I double click on that, it's going to go to open a file. You'll be able to do that as long as there are no documents open at the time. Why don't we open a couple of documents? If you'd like to follow along, just double click on the gray background. I'm going to select just a couple of layouts. I just clicked and dragged down the two layouts that I wanted to open. And now I'm just going to hit the Open button. You can see that it's opening these two layouts in a tabbed format. I can go from one layout to the other just by simply clicking on the tab. But what if I didn't like the order of the tabs in the way they opened? I could just drag it going across, and it's going to change the order. The same thing is true in my tabbed panels. When I open a panel group, I have tabs going across. If I wanted to arrange these tabs differently, let's say so that layers came first before pages, I could do that very easily. But what if I wanted to look at my two documents at once? Maybe I wanted to compare them for some reason. Well, there's a pop-up above the control panel that is Arrange Documents, and if I click down on that, I can choose two up side by side in either a horizontal format or a vertical format. Let me choose this one, and you can see that the two of them are side by side. So I can compare them, or even show my client two different layouts at the same time. That's really kind of cool. Well, we're going to continue talking about the workspace and other InDesign basics in upcoming lessons.